All right, I think we can get started. I've added the HackMD link in the chat. Let me know if you don't see it. I'm going to share that really quickly so we can go over the proposed agenda, see if you guys want to make any changes before we start going through the issues. Okay, let me share that. So I want to propose today, and I wanted to see what you all think about working backwards if we could, and reviewing some of the really old issues, maybe the ones that have been open for a couple years, just to get the issue list and the number down to a bit of a more manageable size. I figured there probably are some in there that we could quickly say, oh no, this has already been done, or this is no longer relevant. So I wanted to see if, after going over the new issues that have come in since our last meeting, what you guys thought of doing that, or if you wanted to talk release strategy. I know we talked about that a little bit last time. We could do that as well. So I just wanted to put that out there to see what you guys think.
Well, yeah, I agree. There are issues that I think that can be closed easily. So if we clean up those, I think it'll be better, because sometimes it's kind of difficult to see, right, that there are more than 100 issues, but there are some issues that are not relevant anymore, just no relevant anymore. So yeah, I think that'll be good. And if there's time, yes, discussing the release strategy needs to be done, right? As well as discussing what we talked, right, Jen, about that other issue.
Yeah, the road mapping. In fact, that's first up on the new issues, so I figured I'll just switch over there.
Okay. Yeah, but I at least for me, I have no complaints. I think we can do it.
Cool. All right, let me switch over to the new issues. Can everyone see GitHub issues right now? No.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first issue that's up is one that I recently submitted about road mapping. So my proposal is that we close, or work to close, the 1480 issue and break down the information there into maybe epics, maybe even do a text representation in a roadmap MD file. And I kind of caveated, because I know that these roadmap MD files get out of date really easily in other repos, and I've definitely seen other repos where they haven't been updated in over a year. So my proposal is that we point to a dynamic roadmap, probably using something like GitHub issues, or sorry, not GitHub issues, GitHub projects. And then in the roadmap, we can just tell users or contributors or the community how the roadmap is made, how you get items on the roadmap, where do you go to get updates on the roadmap. So I was thinking that if we could implement this for Compliance Trestle successfully, since it's the most established project in the org, maybe it would be helpful for other projects like Agile authoring and compliance to policy, and we could all kind of collaboratively decide on what's the best way to represent our project roadmaps. So I'm just going to stop there for any comments, questions, concerns.
So how would GitHub project handle the roadmap? So what would be there in the project?
Here, let me show an example. So this originally was the Trestle release planning project, but I recently renamed it to roadmap. So GitHub has a specific roadmap type The reason it's empty is because we haven't started an iteration. I think we can do this by milestone dates. So if we start setting like goal dates on the milestones, it'll break up the issues by time. And then I've also put together a Kanban for the current milestone or whatever milestone we're working for, so users can look at it that way. A project backlog by area, and we don't have to keep all of these. This was me kind of exploring. So if there's certain ones that were like that's a little too much information, we can get rid of them. And then I have epics and bugs. These aren't obviously not all of our issues. I kind of wanted to explore, see if it was useful before just going ahead and adding everything. But so this is my proposal, is to create a GitHub project, create a roadmap to explain it a little bit for users in an easily identifiable file called roadmap, and basically use this for our planning.
So this is very fine-grained planning, right? Are we talking of roadmap in terms of milestones and weekly or bi-weekly releases, or when we say roadmap, it is more about what new things we are planning to add and more at a slightly granular scale, right? In couple of months, okay, these are the new features we want to plan to add and so on.
So I think we could do both. So maybe we could control the level of granularity by labels. I noticed we have a lot of epics. So maybe these really high level roadmap items, such as the poem authoring, could be an epic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because having too fine-grained, it may also become too much of an overhead, right? Maintaining it and shifting things here and there, right? Which anyway we are doing in issues. Anyway, we are creating issues and attaching them to milestones, right? Okay, this would be available in next milestone and so on. So if we are doing that same thing here also at issue level, then it will become again similar to what we are doing at issue level there, right? In the project itself.
Right. Well, this is displaying, this should be updated automatically when we change certain issues. So if I could go to an example issue.
So this is linked to the issues in the project?
Correct. Yeah. So this is linked to the
Okay.
issues in the project, and an example. So
And whatever labels we have, like epic and all, those automatically appear there, right? In that case?
Yeah, so I'm filtering by labels, so the labels that we're using anyway. And all I would have to do is to get it on the board is add it to the project. It should automatically update the status to do. And if we add it to the milestone here, it will automatically show up under the milestones tab. So this is really just reflective of what we're doing in the issues, and we shouldn't have to do a set like double management. It should only be in one place.
Okay. Okay. It seems okay to me. Alejandro, Manjari, any comments here?
Yeah, it seems fine to me as well. So okay, no worries. I was just thinking, but it's okay. It's okay for me.
Okay, if you think of anything later or you want to discuss it more, happy to talk about it more over Slack.
One thing I was thinking. So this roadmap and is going to be constructed dynamically out of the projects, but how? I haven't seen this before. That's why I ask. So are we just going to refer in a roadmap MD to the projects to the projects link, or how is this file going to be feeded?
let me show an example that I was hoping we could work off of, because I found it. This might be one of the examples where it's not updated,
Okay.
but it's just so easy to find here. It's just so easy to find for me. Like Harbor is an example that I found where they have the roadmap MD in their community, and then they just point to a project,
Got it.
and it points to the project board here. And I really liked that because I was looking through examples in different CNCF projects, and I was like, where is the roadmap here? Where is it
Right.
captured? And it was different everywhere. And this, I was like, oh, it's front and center. I know exactly where it is. And it has like how to add. And I felt like, oh, this is really helpful for me if I was going to contribute, is I know exactly how to get something on this roadmap and what to do.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Can you
Perfect.
just come down, scroll down?
Sure.
So it points to that project roadmap, but what are the things here, right? So we also capture high level items here, or this table is generated automatically?
I believe this table is not automatic, and I think this is kind of another one of those examples where this part hasn't been updated in a while. So I think I could go personally either way on if there were things we weren't quite ready to capture in the issues, or it's just so abstract that it wouldn't make sense in the issues, we could put it here, or we could just leave out this table and have the roadmap MD point to the project and say, this is how you read the roadmap. This is how you get items on the roadmap. This is how you get updates on the roadmap. So for me, either way.
Yeah, so here actually it captures at a very high level, right? Second half 2022 or something like that. Like these are like big ticket items that we are working on, and we'll release it in second half or end of the year or end of the quarter, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this will have, so here this table basically manually captures what we plan to do in the long term and manually updated versus the project which would be more specific related to issues and so on, right?
Right. So I guess if we have anything that we feel like it would be larger than an epic, maybe like if we were to think of it as an initiative with multiple epics, maybe we would capture it here. Things that are like long term, not changing very often.
Yeah. Yeah, epic should be fine. I don't think so we need something bigger than an epic. Yeah, but yeah, that should be fine. So here then if we don't have this table, because otherwise we'll have to manage it, maintain this table, then this will just have a description with a link to that project, right?
Right. I figured we
Is that
could just
correct?
do something similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we could just do something similar to this, like simple text up here. And then they
And
say
then,
attend the community meeting. So we could also promote the community meetings through here.
okay.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I think there's no need to start from something big, right? We can start from scratch, from what we have, what we consider to be needed in this roadmap. Not necessarily we need this a lot of stuff, and then if needed, we can scale, right? From that point. So I definitely agree on having a roadmap MD file, or somewhere that we indicate people, hey, here is our roadmap. Please visit it, look at it, add items if needed, or whatever. Agree.
Cool, let me switch back.
Going back to that table, is that something that it is manually constructed, or is this something that can be programmatically constructed based upon the data that is in the issues and epics and whatnot?
It can be programmatically constructed. Here, let me catch you up on the.
I don't want to hold us up. So I was just concerned about duplication of data. If it's going to be, derived programmatically, I'm happy.
All right, cool. Yeah, it's once we have everything, iterations defined and epics defined, it should show up right here, and we'll
Fantastic.
only have to manage it from the issues.
Sounds good. Yep.
Cool.
Thanks.
Oh,
All right. So I will mark this as an enhancement, or I guess it's documentation. And I will assign myself, if that's all right with you guys, because I plan to work on it this week.
sure.
All right. Next one, I think, Alejandro, we've talked about this one a little bit, but if you wanted to go through it, feel free.
Okay, yeah, just real quick. While running main docs validate, Yihao and I found out that there is a warning that the code of conduct does not exist. Because now it's pointing at a higher level code of conduct. For that, I already have a PR for correcting the documentation. And I think Jen, I added you as reviewer, and oh, okay, yeah, there was a typo. I'll correct it, push it, and I think that's pretty much it, right, for this one. I don't know, because if you want to take a look, or Lou as well, you are tagged there, but it was a really simple change, just to correct the README and the README, the code of conduct, and where it is pointing to. Now with this change, the site is going to build correctly without a problem.
Okay. So just the linkage issue, nothing else, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, a
Okay.
little description, a little prose, saying that the code of conduct resides at the organization level in the community repository and stuff. But yeah, and I provide the link for it. It's really simple, actually.
So isn't the code of conduct gets copied to the individual projects from the community level, Jen?
Not copied directly. GitHub will show it if it exists in the .github repo, which it does. So the code of conduct doesn't actually exist here. It's just shown because of it exists in the .github repo.
Okay. So it will automatically show, basically, even if we don't have this file in the Trestle repo, it will appear there, right? Which is a link to the actual GitHub repo, correct?
Yes, this link is actually to this is coming from the GitHub repo. This link is to the community repo that Alejandro is also pointing to.
Sorry, go back previously.
Sure.
So this is the Trestle, right? This is,
Yes, this is Trestle.
and so where is the code of conduct file here? Okay, README code of conduct, and so this tab is appearing automatically, you are saying, correct?
Yes, GitHub is managing
GitHub
this.
managing this, because we don't have a code of conduct here. It is automatically creating this code of conduct.
Yes.
Just do we know for the CNCF requirement, do we need to have a separate code of conduct file in each project, or at the GitHub level, if we have one, it will work? I don't know what are the requirements there.
So I looked at.
Will they check? Yeah.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
And I was saying, will they check that each project should have their own code of conduct file present and contributing and other files?
That's a good question. I wondered the same thing. And I looked as added an example, I think I looked at Kubernetes as an example, and I didn't see a code of conduct in every single repository. I believe they're using a similar solution, but I think it might be worth asking.
Because if that is
Perhaps.
the case, then we have a license file also here, right? And license Apache 2 license is appearing as another tab. So do we need to have license file in every project or no?
You do in every project here. There's only certain types of files that GitHub will allow you to inherit from the organization. I think it's only code of conduct, security, and a few others. License is not one of them.
Okay. Okay. So before we commit, I just want to ensure that there is no requirement from CNCF side for each project to have a separate file of code of conduct. If we are sure, then this is fine. If we need to wait to just verify that before merging this. But you're saying Kubernetes has it, right? So that's also a CNCF project, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And I didn't see separate ones in every Kubernetes repo. Yeah.
Okay, then we can go ahead with this. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. So on the topic of this issue, I submitted it so that we could discuss a little bit more to see if we wanted to add it as an epic, so it'll show up on the roadmap. This requirement was brought forth in part by one of the issues that I had previously submitted, but also by GSA in Slack and in the community discussion. So I wanted to add it here to capture the higher level requirement, so that if they wanted to submit an issue, or if we wanted to work the 1539 issue, the solutions didn't diverge, or they didn't spend a bunch of time on a pull request and it diverged a ton from what we previously have discussed for 1539, which is the OSCAL metadata issue. So I kind of just wanted to bring it up and see if you all agreed that this would be a good place to collaborate on a high-level design for the non-control field editing in SSPs.
And this would be applicable to other models also, right? Catalogs and other. There also we would probably need non-field editing, non-control field editing, correct? Metadata and so on. Roles, responsibilities.
Yeah. I that's a good point. One
Because
question I have
Mhm.
is, so to me, profiles and catalogs, is there more support for more of the fields because a lot of it is control driven, and there might be perhaps more information in SSP that is system information? The reason I ask is I'm wondering, should we have different epics, or should we just cover all of this under one epic?
No, so when we say non-control driven field here, okay, so SSP has more non-control driven fields, you're saying, apart from just the metadata, right? The system implementation where we define other items, right? You're talking of those things or something else?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. And that was the discussion as well, specifically system implementation.
I believe, see, system implementation, so what we had earlier was can we inject external markdown content into system implementation? See, what will happen is system implementation would describe some information about how your system is implemented, what are the network boundaries, architecture, and so on, right? That's the kind of information we are talking about. Is that correct?
Yes.
And most likely these information may be present in other places, right? Already in the organization, because when an organization is implementing these controls, right, they would have this kind of an information available in some other repository in markdown format, right? So we should probably be looking at how we can use that information and just put it as an external content, inject that into SSP if that information is what we just need to populate here, right? Because not everything has to be edited directly in the SSP. A lot of information may be coming from other places, sources, right? Specifically the system implementation part, which may already be documented somewhere else. And if somebody already has that documented, can we inject that information directly into the SSP rather than writing it here explicitly in the markdown?
So perhaps we change the scope of this, or maybe we can start a discussion on like a community discussion on different ways that the information is represented in the system implementation,
Yeah,
or
because
see what users are doing.
yes, because there are multiple kinds of information here. One is system implementation. If we are talking of like metadata and all, which are very specific to a model and so on, that I understand we need to support in the model itself. But system implementation is that kind of information that may be available externally in the organization and that can be just reused. And I believe long back we had some at least thoughts or how we can inject external content into SSP, right? If that is available in the markdown format and so on. So I believe let's have more discussion around this just to capture all the scenarios that we have.
Sounds good. So is the agreement that yes, we're accepting this as a roadmap item, but it might not exactly be through Markdown. We're just going to support the population of system implementation in some way, shape, or form?
Yes, yeah, we'll have to come to an agreement on that, how we want to support that. Yeah. And
Okay.
I believe we can involve Chris Butler also in this discussion, because when he was working on Trestle a couple of years back, there were thoughts on how we can add these kinds of information into SSP.
Sounds good. Before I label this, just for clarity for everyone, I'll change the title on it just to make it more clear on what we're deciding we want to support, and then I'll add it to Slack to get Chris's feedback. And I would also like to get, since this originally was a discussion from GSA, I would really like to get their feedback as well on what they're doing now. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's capture all the feedback, how they are adding these information, and then probably come up with the solution.
All right. Sounds good. Any more discussion before we move on to the next one?
So, Jen, for GSA to provide the feedback, they can directly comment on the issue, right? I mean, they're aware of the contributing guidelines or how they can contribute. Because if there is a discussion with GSA, I think we would want to drive the practice of not having it in Slack or DMs, but in the issue itself, so that it stays in the community.
Yes, they have submitted issues previously. The discussion was actually in GitHub, and I've linked some of the open discussions that we've had, the public discussions we've had on it. So I've alerted them to this issue, and I completely agree that the discussion should continue on the issue.
Yeah, and yeah, so we have system implementation, right? at minimum the metadata and system implementation. Metadata may be straightforward, like we are using YAML header and all to add the content, right? Because that's a structured field. System implementation is the place where you add a lot of textual content. And right, and there we might need more discussion. Basically, metadata may be straightforward. For that, yeah, we can use whatever YAML header kind of a format that we are using. But we'll also have to see, right, because for metadata, how do we want to keep the YAML file? Are we going to put that information in every control file? Because that's not control specific, right? So we'll have to just look at the scenarios and see that it is working as expected, right? Because if somebody edits in one control file and not edits in the other control file, do we allow editing through the markdown YAML header, or it will just go through a separate YAML file and just be ingested into, or just be shown as read-only property fields in the YAML header of every control file?
Right. And I have, just to kind of go over that quickly, I have a related issue here that kind of talks about, for one example at least, how the corresponding control-driven information would be represented, like specifically around responsible role as an example. But yes, I definitely agree, it needs more discussion. All right, moving on to 1608.
Yeah, I think that was already 2 weeks before. I've seen that Chris made a PR and merged it into develop, but I think it was related with the Python versions, right? Because I think that's what he made.
Yes.
Okay.
So here that right, Python version elements of the pipeline necessarily replicated, and this semantic release where it was removing. So I don't know whether all three have been fixed or only first two. So we need to verify.
Okay. Yeah, because I've seen that, and this is one thing to clarify in general. I think we noticed that while trying to do the release from develop to main, there was a clean that was not executing anymore, which was the code QL check, right? He's correcting that. I've seen a PR for it.
Yes.
Okay.
So but he's still not sure. Once it gets merged in the pipeline and we run it, maybe it will become clear, right? After getting, we'll have to see, right? Whether that fixes or not.
Now, yes. No, well, no, it doesn't seem to be fixed.
It's still showing that.
I've seen he has merged the PR, which says
and develop, but still it is.
Yeah, I could try doing a PR again, but I don't think that is going to solve it. No, it seems that the code QL one, the issue that it's saying right now is configuration not found.
One configuration is not found or something, right? I don't know.
Even though he has merged his PR now, so.
So we need to keep this issue still, right? We are not sure the problem is fixed.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we just tag Chris on this to say what's the status here or something?
Yeah. Well, he submitted this issue. Yeah. So we can just put a comment here.
Sounds good. And I'm assuming this is an enhancement. I don't think it had been labeled yet.
Yeah,
Or is it a bug? Yeah.
I think it's an enhancement.
Okay. All right. And then yes, we can tag him. I could do that, or if someone else wants to do that after this meeting.
I can do it.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
This issue I can speak to a little bit. I think we had some discussion, maybe it was a couple weeks ago, about a output of one of the Trestle tasks producing a not well-formed OSCAL component definition. So I have submitted an issue for that, and it's noted here. But my proposal for how we can test for this and maybe do a bit more rigorous testing for this, specifically when we're going to cut a release, is to create some really simple end-to-end tests for agile authoring and check the validity with the OSCAL CLI or maybe against the JSON schemas. So I just kind of wanted to bring that to the group and see what you all think, or if there's maybe another solution that's already in place that I'm just not aware of.
So
Yeah, I think so. It would be good. Go ahead. Sorry, Lou.
No, I was going to say the same. I think this is a great idea, and we rely upon ourselves for validity, but we're not always right. So having a secondary check is a great idea.
Yeah, the issue here was, right, when we were converting OSCAL schemas to Python classes, right, that code generator was not 100% accurate, right? So if there is an issue, our Python classes did allow something more than what the actual OSCAL schemas were allowing. For example, if the array is 0 size, we can have an empty array, whereas the actual schema would not allow to have an empty array, right? And since our Python classes were allowing it, so our tests were all passing, right? Because the conversion from schema to Python classes itself had that issue.
Right. So we can't use ourselves to check ourselves. Is the
yeah.
issue.
So we'll have to use this external OSCAL CLI to really validate,
Yes.
whether it's correct or not. But I don't know how much we can validate, because that was one scenario, right, where we figured out where empty arrays were passing in our case, whereas OSCAL CLI doesn't allow as per the strict schema checking, right?
Yeah, I mean, we just add a bunch of, we either piggyback on or add a bunch of test cases that produce documents and run it through the checker. And if any fail, we fix it. I mean, we just go,
Yep.
And as we find more problems reported, we just add those test cases. I mean,
in that end-to-end check. Yeah.
it doesn't have to be all at once. It can be incremental progress
Yes.
here, right? But we can get started. So
Yes.
I agree, and I think we should not just limit it from develop to main, but I feel it should be a part of every time the test case runs, it generates a document. We can validate it against the OSCAL schema. I feel it should be a part of every pull request. Like every time the test runs, let's add a pre-check to validate the generated document against the OSCAL schema. Because if we find these issues from to, I think delay, right? Because then again you would have to open a feature plan that might delay releases. So why not a part of every test run? And I don't think validating documents against a schema is, performance or time. It won't increase time significantly in the test run.
Yeah, I agree that we should add more test cases to check this kind of a thing, and it should be part of the test suite that we have. I agree.
Alejandro, can you market an issue for the intern? I know they have just 2 weeks remaining in the 3 weeks remaining in the internship, but maybe they can develop a pattern. Like if they do it for one test, then we can repeat it for rest of the test. Can you add it? Can you mark it for interns?
Well, I mean, if we are going to switch Yihao from what he's doing to this, I think it will be a good idea. But to be honest, I don't think Memish is in a position to take another issue. He has already 2 issues. Um,
Yeah, I was thinking more of you how, and
yeah,
then we give them a finite deadline for Tectron.
mhm,
And because research could go infinite without producing a outcome.
exactly.
So let us give him a finite goal, and then maybe this is something he can look at.
Yeah. Okay. I could. Yeah, I could do it. I think. So just to understand a little bit more, you want what you want is to create this kind of test for each PR that is created against my develop. Sorry, right? Or what is the exact check? Um,
So I think that this
In
is
the-
incompletely specified, but I mean,
okay.
as a first swag, I would say that we should have one of each kind of document that we support, and we should generate one of each kind of document that we support, and make sure that the OSCAL CLI validates that what we produced is good.
Okay.
So I could imagine different variations to make sure, different completeness levels of the documents. But I mean, at a minimum, I would say one each of each kind of document is produced correctly.
For example, let us generate a catalog.json with all the minimum required fields in catalog.json, and then let us use the OSCAL CLI to validate our generated catalog.json against the OSCAL schema, making sure that the Python classes which we have in Trestle correctly generate the catalog.json.
Okay. Okay.
Right? And then, like Lou said, we can add optional fields. We can expand. We can expand instead of one value in the array, we can have 3 values in the array with varying parameters, etc. It doesn't really matter. The number of items doesn't really matter. I think it's just a question of required versus optional. But then we can continue to elaborate and produce a happy path in catalog.json, unhappy path, and so on.
Got it. Okay.
Then, profile.json, component definition. We can go on expanding.
Okay. Okay.
There already
I
is some code in Trestle somewhere. When I was doing the upgrade, I forget where it is, but there already is some code in Trestle that will produce sample documents. So you could just ask Trestle itself to produce the sample documents and then run them through this CLI and make sure that they work. I mean, that should be pretty easy to do, I think.
Okay.
But for Yuha, we will scope it down, right? For anyone, not just Yuha, we'll scope it down. We'll say start with one document, start with one catalog.
Yeah.
And then, go on from there.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. I'll mock it up. Yes.
So should this be marked as, I know it's not exactly a roadmap item, but should we mark this as an epic and then there would be sub issues, one for each model? Or would it be one issue?
Yeah, I think so. This could be this should be an epic.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. And then I think this is the last of the new items, and this is just the bug that spawned the last issue that we talked about, where the control implementations field cannot be empty. So I think it's probably a small, relatively easy fix, but yeah, just wanted to show this.
I actually think,
So this is
I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I think that this is in two parts. One is that we can fix this task so that it works properly. That's easy. I think the harder thing is to make sure that we never produce something like that. And that I think is going to be harder to fix.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that there is some annotation that you have to put on the Python code that gets generated from the schemas that says what is allowed and what's not allowed, and we have to find the right annotation and put it in at the right place because it looks like that might not be being done. And as Vika said before, that I'm not sure whose fault that is, if it's the data gen tool that we use or if it's the Trestle post-processing that's at fault. But I think one of those things is broken, and I think that that's non-trivial to figure out and fix.
This would be, I believe, at least I feel it would be data gen tool, because in post-processing we are not changing any logic regarding these empty arrays.
I agree. I just don't want to catch aspersions.
Yeah,
that's probably the case. But without looking, I don't know. So,
yeah,
I agree.
But yeah, we can fix this CSV to CD so that we don't generate these empty arrays. At least
that's easy.
The places where we are generating, we can fix those, right?
Yes. Yes.
All right, sounds good. Do you think it would be worth having a separate issue to capture the data gen investigation, or could that be part of the end-to-end?
I think that that's a separate issue, and it should have its own bug report if it's not already written down.
Okay. I'll just add that.
If you haven't written it, I can try and write it, or if you feel motivated, you can write it. Either is fine.
Okay, sounds good. I'm just going to add it as an action item here. If I can get to it, I am happy to write it. But if you feel like you already know what to put in there, I don't have to be the one who writes it.
I'll let you go ahead, and then I'll tack on to what you did.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem. For data issue. Yeah. Hopefully I'll know what that means later. Okay. So back to here, I will mark this as a bug and add it to the project. Okay, I think that's all the new issues we have. I'm going to go back, see if we can knock out some really old issues. So we'll just start with the oldest one. Does anyone have context on this issue and whether we should continue with it, we should close it, or we should contact someone?
I literally have no idea. This is too old for me.
What is the issue? Let me see. And then, I did comment something, so let me remember what I did say. We need to document the concept, architecture of Trestle, plan and action. The documentation should also include guide, an example of creating a Trestle. come down. This should be all done in doctrines in the classes in effort to in the markdown. Enhance the documentation. So this is more about documentation in actual commands. This is on the documentation side. I don't think so. We are going to do anything here unless we come up with this issue again. We can close this actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any particular comment to close it with, or should we just close it? I know it's like
Just close it. It's
right.
around documentation, and yeah, we are not going to do anything unless we see any requirement, explicit requirement there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It'll resurface if it needs to. If it needs
Exactly,
to,
exactly.
All right. Supporting XML. This is already supported by OSCAL, right?
Yeah, OSCAL already has the XML conversion functionality, right?
Yeah, I believe so. And I think that, if I'm not mistaken, the OSCAL CLI handles this
Conversion, yeah. So we
yeah.
don't need to support that in Trestle, right? If somebody wants to really use Trestle with XML, they can just use that CLI to first convert to JSON and then use it, right?
Yeah, I agree.
We don't need to build that, because if we build that, then we have to keep on updating with every version of that and all. And it would be too much of a pain to maintain that additional functionality with not much benefit.
Right. And I actually haven't personally, from the community or even from anyone I've discussed this with, no one's asked about XML or XML support before. So
XML support people are not using much, but when you go to FedRAMP, right, the FedRAMP validator that the FedRAMP team has in the form of an XSLT style sheet, right, that uses XML SSP only. So that's why in our FedRAMP we convert from JSON to XML and then do the validation on the XSLT. Because the FedRAMP validation piece is written in XML style sheet, right? So you need XML format only.
Right.
But for other places, I don't think so. XML is a major requirement.
All right, I'll go ahead and close this one.
Yeah, I would just add the comment that says use the NIST tool.
OSCAL CLI.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right. Maybe we can take on one more. I know we only have 3 minutes left. Maybe this one might be a question for Chris.
Can you just come down? Are there any other comment? No. Can you just go up? I didn't read the full issue. Add command dot add computes new parental applying. This is to prepare the parent element for update action to add the next action in the chain. This is retency of this update. I think we may have solved it. Yeah. This is very old issue. I don't know.
Yeah. It's also performance related, which, I mean, I haven't seen any performance related issues in recently. So I wonder if this is maybe an optimization that doesn't need to be taken care of right away or at all. That would be my 2 cents.
Yeah, we can check with Chris if this makes sense or not before closing it. Yeah. But nobody has worked on it, added to code, mentioned this on 20. Can you just come down?
Sure.
Was anybody Trestle plan infrastructure to be decided whether this needs to be fixed or not? So I'm not even sure whether, since he has commented, whether we really need to fix it or not. Does it really is that important or anything? We can mention him. If he doesn't respond, we can close it. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. I can comment on the issue. I think we're actually at time. So we have one action item. I did want to mention that I haven't been able to find, based on the doodle poll, a good time to get a good amount of consensus on when to move this meeting. I think we have like a lot of options where only 4 people can attend. So I kind of just wanted to make a proposal and we can think about it and talk about it async. And one would be that we try to automate this a bit more so that we can collaborate asynchronously on the issue triaging and planning, or that we hold more than one meeting if we can't come to a consensus on a date and time. So just wanted to put it out there. If there's any other better times that weren't on the doodle poll, just let me know.
Yeah, maybe alternate weeks we can have the 2 most preferred days.
Oh, that's a good idea too. Yeah, we could switch it up.
Yeah, so that at least everyone can join one of the meetings the other week.
Yeah, I would second that motion. I mean, it's okay if not everybody attends every meeting. So
Sounds good. Yes.
So just to clarify before I change it, we want to keep this twice a month or every other week, but depending on which week, the dates will change, or
So
we want to move this to weekly?
We have this every week right now, or every other week?
It's every other week.
Okay. And is this frequency sufficient for now? Every other week is fine, right?
Yeah, I think so.
If it is every other week, then making it once a month, then making it 2 separate days would not be that good. I thought this is every week, so every other week we'll have alternate days, right? Then it was okay, but it's already every other week once in 15 days. Then adding 2 separate days would probably not be a good idea in that case, because then it will become once a month, right? In that case.
no, it only become once a month for certain people. Right now, it's 0 times
Yes.
a month for certain people. So I think that's
Okay.
better, right? So
Okay, we can keep that. Yeah.
I would give it a shot, and if it's not working out, try something different. I mean, we could add 3 times a month, and have the third one be the off time. But
Couple of people need to be there, right? In the meeting to really decide, right?
well, I mean, if an issue comes up on the off one and people can't decide, they can skip the issue and move to the next one. I mean, it's not like every single issue needs to be discussed every time.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
And I mean, to bolster the point, I mean, if Chris was here at this meeting, he would be able to answer these questions on this particular issue. I can't answer it and you can't answer it. So having a meeting that he's involved in it is a bonus, right? So,
Yep.
so we can talk about Chris issues at that meeting and non-Chris issues at the other ones, I guess.
Sure.
So again, I'm in favor of swapping every other week and seeing how that works.
Right.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.